What could be the best Pokémon game of all time? And what if it included microtransactions? Trust me, more on this later. Pal World could be better, Cobblemon does its best but doesn't quite hit its mark, and other fan games are illegal, unfortunately, and Dokev seems to be all but confirmed to be cancelled. They're far from the ideal Pokémon games, though. Surely we could do better. Hi everyone, it's Professor Hazel, and welcome to today's video. I'll be crafting what the best Pokémon game could look like. Game Freak, if you're watching, take notes. First, we have to understand what worked for Game Freak in the first place. What's the best official Pokémon game? Going by metrics, we could argue the classics. Red, Green, and Blue have 31.83 million copies sold. Still, in the year 2025. Honestly, no wonder why they bank out Gen 1 so hard. Second place is Sword and Shield with 26.1 million. And what made these games successful? Well, one thing's for certain, the formula of getting a Pokémon, battling, fighting trainers, and inevitably becoming champion has worked for 28 years. 28 is literally old enough to be another adult human in society with a job, car, and maybe for some, even a spouse and kids. If we change dramatically throughout our lives, why can't this game franchise? The core of what Pokémon is still the same, and that is awesome. But I think for our ideal game, we need to spice it up just a little bit. So what made those games successful aside from the core gameplay of collecting and battling? Exploration, world building through NPCs and an easy-to-follow story, and friendship, of course. These 3 points are crucial to Pokémon games, and they're pretty related actually. In order to make our ideal game, it needs to have these ideas in abundance. The obvious choice is open world, and is far from a controversial take. I mean, the literal best way to search for monsters is in their natural habitats, spanning across a wide open world you can ride, fly, and surf on your Pokémon with. Although it didn't sell as highly, many people point to Legends Arceus as a modern shining example of this in a Pokémon game. It was a very great start for sure, but it appears as though the Kalos region game will be taking a step back from this. Like I said, the ideal Pokémon game would be open world. So a wide open world needs a ton of stuff to populate it. You can't just have some terrain differences and then nothing in between. Legends Arceus kind of suffers from this, honestly. The wide open world is only as impressive as its depth, and depth requires small details. Scarlet and Violet, just behind Sword and Shield and Sails, had a wide open world and unique spin by having multiple story paths. However, where it faltered the most was its cities. I remember vividly rushing to the store to buy Scarlet, coming back home and beginning my journey. Mesagoza, the largest city in all of Paldea, had no houses I could walk into, no interior stores, and these stores. There would be two, like a block away from each other. Every NPC was idly standing or just mindlessly walking around. I didn't even remember the city name before this. I literally had to look it up. This one thing, honestly, made me not touch the game for months after I bought it. In this hypothetical ideal Pokémon game, the world would be populated with NPCs both indoors and out. Waltzing into houses was an amazing quirk of the OG games, after all. The cities would sport interior designs, unique dialogue, and Easter eggs to find. The kind of stuff you actually have to go looking for. The outside world would be filled with Pokémon, yes, but also have unique biomes, ruins, or signs of modern civilization spread throughout. Maybe bigger caves or additional smaller quests, or the ability to freely ride, climb, swim, dive with whatever Pokémon you choose, like I mentioned before. Make the games harder and add a difficulty setting, please. Okay, I'm getting a little bit fired up about this. Let's pivot slightly. The reason why Cobblemon, for example, works so well is because it combines the simplicity and beauty of Minecraft with Pokémon. Pixelmon, of course, does this as well. I'm not saying Minecraft's procedural generation should be used. In fact, I think full procedural would actually detract from the idea of the traditional regions and limit the depth themselves. However, maybe there could be a procedural portion, like bigger safari zones or mirage islands. In essence, exploration should be almost first and foremost. They don't even have to create new Pokémon, just utilize the old ones in new ways. Although in the perfect game, there would of course be new unique Pokémon to collect as well. The next point is kind of moot. Of course, they should be striving to improve the visual quality as well as the performance of their titles by far. The frame rates would be consistent, the textures would look crisp, and in my personal greatest wish, the animations would be lively and inspired. The game is literally about battling. Please give us cool animations, Game Freak. If you started years ago, we could have been caught up by now. Okay, so here it comes. What would accomplish all of these things at once? I think turning Pokémon into an MMO would actually be one of the smartest decisions Game Freak could ever make. This is about to be really, really controversial. I know people get really apprehensive about this word, but as long as it's handled well, I think microtransactions could work here. Not that it should be a free-to-play model, and absolutely not subscription, but paying $60, or I guess $80 now, for a completed base game on launch, and then $15 to $30 for expansions, as well as cosmetic microtransactions or decorations, would really keep the game alive for a long time to come. It could give them cash flow enough to keep updating the game, improving mechanics, and steadily upping its quality over time. I think the main issue with games now is the push for them to be finished and then no more updates or fixes. A proper live service game would absolutely fix their issues. They could develop new content and then actually fix the old content for the same game at the same time. Imagine being able to search a wide open world, call your friends and meet up, questing and catching Pokémon together. Imagine now if you could start in any Pokémon region, and then travel across to any others in any way you choose, racking up gym badges and fighting your Pokémon to be the top against real players. You could use Dynamaxing, and Mega Evolution, and Z-moves, and Terastallizing. I mean, not all at once, but in the same game, of course. There could be hidden bases, or maybe there could be a championship in the game, a leaderboard of the best trainers in each region or division, actual beauty contests, better and more in-depth breeding and training mechanics to enhance your Pokémon's abilities. The list is endless, and the potential is massive. Would the mechanics need a gigantic overhaul? Absolutely, but Pokémon at its core just begs to be turned into an MMO. I would love to be able to have a more genuine bond with my Pokémon and tailor their stats for specific purposes, the ones that I think that they're meant for. To be able to train Pokémon for beauty contests instead of battling, more efficient traversal instead of musicals, etc., I think would add a crazy amount of depth to the franchise and really show what Pokémon is capable of. The story doesn't have to be complex either. Each region could have a simplistic story that feeds into an overarching narrative, similar to how the games already operate. Each expansion could further that story in exciting ways. You could even just retell the existing stories in new ways, in a sort of, alternate universe type of way. Maybe you could even be part of the evil team, become the bad guy. Who knows? I love Pokémon, and this will probably never happen, but what if it did? My ideal Pokémon game, the best Pokémon game to ever exist, would be the one that includes all Pokémon. The one that focuses on player experience rather than turnaround and new gimmicks. It would have an open world that includes beautiful scenery as well as bustling cities. The power to choose what you want to be, whether it's a trainer for battling or something else. Good animation, for Arceus' sake, and the ability to play with friends in a meaningful way, making memories wherever we turn. Thanks for listening, and I'd love to know what you would want to see in an ideal Pokémon game. Do you like the MMO idea, or do you think it should be different? Thank you!